Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BETSPERTS.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. Andy, the Gremlins got us in Vegas, but that is okay. Take number 2. This one's going to be even better than the first one. I can feel it in my bones. I hope you're having a great time in the desert. My gal, Maria Zachary, she's up a break. Going to save my day today. How's your trip in the desert so far, and how excited are you for NFL Week 1 to kick off?
Pretty excited. Yes, we are back, Femi. Good to see you. Word is you live out here. We might have to meet up with you eventually here, Mr. Femi. Yes, from the Great Pacific Northwest. But yeah, we are back in the desert. We have an hour and 34 minutes before Honduras starts, and Reed really is a big Honduras fan, wants to watch that. But I think we can fit a good podcast in there. There's a few stinky games in here that we're not going to spend a lot of time on, but otherwise we got a full slate. We are going to skip the Monday night game per usual. We'll talk about that Sunday evening. Otherwise, we have 15 football games to run through, and we'll talk about what we bet, what is maybe still bettable, some live angles to approach Matt, and a few other things, I suppose.
I think still bettable is the key, man, because these markets have had several months to mature. They are informed not only by people making bets on these games, but how people have informed the bookmakers on their priors for the various teams. Does that overall make Week 1 more difficult to bet, or do you think that in general the priors are still soft enough that we can make money this week?
I think we can still make money this week. And for sure, I'm living by my mantra right behind me. It's not even in the right order. It says
laugh, live, love. Laugh, live, love, man.
Not even in the right order. I'm going to have to talk to the Airbnb. I'm not even sure if he's a super host, honestly, if I'm going to look at that. So, no, I'm for sure. We talked about this. Anybody who caught the aborted Periscope version of this, we talked a little. Yes, this is the time where if you have a strong take and you disagree and you think the market is wrongly informed about something, you have a couple weeks because the market catches up pretty quickly. So if you think, I'm trying to think of a team last year that surprised us right out of the gates, or, it can surprise us the Packers. Yeah, somebody that surprised us in a bad way a couple years ago, the
Vikings.
Dolphins losing by 100 points in the first 2 weeks. If you are I don't want to say if you think you're smarter than the market.
No, if you're onto it. If you're onto
it, because I think eventually that does become harder, where you have to find smaller edges. Early in the season, yes, I think there's some edges to be gleaned. We'll try to find some of those. How many drinks have I haven't had any. Connor was supposed to go to the store and get beer. I don't know where that went. I'll probably have a few tonight. Honestly, it's like time travel. I gained some hours.
You're drinking on a school night.
It is a school night, but I will probably be schooling some people in craps later. That's the other school I'm going to. And yes, live from the desert. Drew will be out here tomorrow. We'll do a halftime show. We'll have some other stuff. We'll have some special guests. We're doing some extra on Friday, which I think will be a lot of fun.
All right. Well, I think overall your points were well stated, and I completely agree with you. And I will say though, there are 2 ways to make money this week. Still, one is your prior is better than the market on team A and B, who are playing each other, and the other way is the season-long priors for some teams don't really reflect this matchup at this point in time, and there are some bettable angles that you can take advantage of. I made a couple of bets like that as well. So
going for a run.
Kind of a fat card for me this week, and I think only about 3 out of my 9 plays are so far out of bettable range that I would say walk away. Don't get involved. So far out of my 9 that we're going to talk about on this podcast, 9 out of the 9, 2 are unbettable entirely. 2, I got my ass kicked by the market. I wouldn't play them because somebody knows something that I don't. And then the other 5, the market is moving a little bit in my direction. And I'm confident that by the time we get to kickoff, I may catch even a little bit more value. You're in the similar boat. I know a couple of plays you already had, and the market has completely set sail on those. So good job by you. But we'll get to them, and we'll start with the one that is out of reach. I played the Buccaneers at 6.5. We talked about this at length during the previews, I believe. If not, there's about 15 different shows that I was on the podcast where I was saying, if you like the Buccaneers, you need to get the 6.5 now because this is eventually going to 7. And it went past 7. In fact, I thought maybe 7.5 was where this was going to land. I think market-wide consensus, you're looking at an 8 to an 8.5. And although there are some folks out there that are sticking their necks out to the 9.5 range, maybe Bet Online doing a little teaser protection action there. But whatever the case is, the market has moved aggressively in favor of the Bucs. The read on that is not complicated. This Buccaneers team has returned at full strength. We've talked about this ad nauseum, and they are taking on a Dallas team that, while they have revamped and reinvested in their defense, this Dallas team still has massive liabilities at the cornerback and safety positions. They will be passed on by every team that has good weapons in the passing game. And I do not need to remind you that the Buccaneers have Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, a slew of tight ends, and even playoff Lenny Fournette, who upgraded his cement hands to drywall hands last year in the playoffs. Durock hands. There you go.
Yeah, Durock. That's a good one. The only thing I will say is Godwin is injury tagged, however you want to say it. He's on the tagged. I think it's just probable or questionable with a quad, which is, again, it's like trying to throw cold water on the Bucs and it's not working because it's like, oh no, we lost a wide receiver. Oh, we still have like 3 or 4 good ones. And honestly, some of the depth they have at receiver is so good too. And yeah, this might end up, we said this before, and I think we might have said something similar about the Chiefs last year. Like, what if this team is just as good and the season kind of sucks? And it's like, oh, and it'll still be, I think we'll still have a very fun AFC season. Let's say the Bucs are just a truck. They win 15, 16 games, and the NFC is never in doubt. I think still we'd have a lot of fun, with the races in the AFC. So I'm not terribly worried, but yeah, they bring so many people back, basically the whole team. If Tom Brady can not get injured and they don't suffer like a 49ers type cluster injury at every level, I think they're going to be just fine. In fact, they did have some injuries last year. With Vita Vea and a couple other players, Marpet, there was some injuries, and they still got it. And really, the notes I had too is like the only positive thing I can say for Dallas is like, yes, Dallas was kind of that cluster injury team, and this offense should be pretty good, but they just don't have the defense to compete in a game like this if it's going to be going back and forth. Their O-line is going to be in better shape than it was last year, but it's still not like something I'm impressed with. And again, it's a very, very tough front seven. So have fun with that. And then really some of the quotes we had it's like the Patrick Mahomes quotes from like 2 years ago. Where it's like, oh no, he's finally understanding the NFL. What was his 50 touchdown season? Well, and there was similar stuff with Brady, and you can see it where it's like, oh, like this guy's been playing for the same team for 2 decades. He comes into a new system, new coach, new, everything. And that team really did click towards the end of the season. He didn't get a training camp, really. He didn't get, the preseason games, the prep. He just got thrown in with a new team with a lot of talent, and they did click at the end of the year. That's the scary part for me is like they might, with the preseason and all this time to prep and a good coach and the whole team, they might even be better. So, I hard agree with the play. I know our friend, I think – Suma, maybe some other people hit this over at an earlier number. I probably agree with that too. I wouldn't bet either of these.
You didn't tail it though, did you? I didn't tail it. And
the over?
Yeah.
I saw some 51 cheap. I put a little on it.
Okay.
I usually put a little on all of Suma's if I'm around at the right time. And
I thought hard about it, and I thought hard about it, and I couldn't pull the trigger because I'm a little nervous still about how Dak and this offense is going to gel. And then by the time I got around to kind of deciding, the market's moved. I lost the best of the number. I'm over it. We get news that Zach Martin is on the ropes. And I'm currently, if you were to ask my value or rank value of all of the players on the Cowboys, my number 1 with the bullet is Dak Prescott, and my number 2 is Zach Martin. And it's because his kind of cohesion in the interior of that offensive line is outstanding. His play is all pro. And if he's unavailable and you're going up against a vicious pass rush here, this is an aggressive defense for Tampa. They're going to find ways to make Dak's life a little bit difficult. And we haven't seen Dak against the pass rush since his ankle snapped. So some things to be a little concerned about Dallas putting up points. But although all that said, and I think we've already previewed this, I think I've already tipped this a couple times, I'm hopeful that Tampa Bay is just up like a buckets at halftime, and we can find some way to attack Dallas either on the point spread or with the team total over
second half.
At halftime or second half. So we'll tip that a little early here. That's where we're probably going, unless the game is fluky or weird.
And then also just kind of a closing point too, like there might be a little bit of weakness too in that secondary for Tampa at times. Like Sean Murphy Bunting got a lot of props because he was just in the right place at the right time a couple times in the playoffs, but he still didn't grade out very well.
That's true.
You can pick on him.
He's going to lose one. Oh, yeah. He's going to lose one-on-one to these wide receivers.
Yeah, they're still very good wide receivers. So,
you can count on it.
Hopeful. I don't have hope that we're going to see a Dallas cover. I think a lot of people will be using this as a teaser leg, a survivor leg. Somebody asked us, like, if we should do a survivor segment. It's like, we can kind of mention it throughout, but it's almost like giving someone fantasy advice. Like, hey, what should I do? It's like, you need to tell me all about your league first and all the rules. It's like, once you get deep into survivor, it's like, well, how many people are in your contest? What are the rules? Like, who do you have left? Like, it gets tricky. We can mention a few teams here.
Tampa Bay actually is the highest EV survivor leg this week because it's Thursday. So. Not many people are.
And you can rebuy for Saturday.
And you can, yeah, that's right. You can rebuy.
But in the circuit, you can rebuy. So.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so Tampa, not the worst. Not there, but guess what, guys? There's lots of opportunities to use Tampa this year. I do not think you have to force one this week, even though it is a plus EV look. Let's move on. Again, and guess what? If you want a little action, Tampa as an open teaser leg, my God, find me a better one on the board.
Tease it open if you really want to be bad. Tease it with the over. Yeah. Don't tease totals.
Okay, lay this one out for me. Buffalo Bills, Pittsburgh Steelers.
The Bills might be the same kind of thing. Like, who did they lose? I mean, a little bit here and there, but it's not the same as Tampa. Price. This is still going to be a very good team. If we don't see a regression in the Josh Allen experience, this is one of your best AFC teams. It's probably close to being Kansas City level at this point. Just so much good coaching. They have so much at receiver. If Beasley doesn't end up screwing this up and they don't miss games because – and also, who knows what's going on with some of these locker rooms with some of these fights over vaccinations. I hopefully that doesn't have to come too much into the handicap this year. Lower total – probably just, these are good. It's funny how 48.5 has become a lower total. Lower total for, just start naming the receivers in this game and then saying the total's under 50. They are really good defenses. And we went over this a little in our, running through all the teams. Like we said, like these are, I'd say actually Steelers are a better defense, even though the Bills kind of made their name on it a couple of years ago. I don't have a strong take on this. I know some people are just laying it with the Bills, saying this is silly. That would be where I would go with this. Like, I really think it might just be, Big Ben lost weight and it's going to be good. But man, I said it might not be the better defense, but it probably might have the better night against that offensive line. That offensive line might struggle this year. Big Ben takes a couple shots. It doesn't matter who you have for receivers. It's going to be tricky. And Patrick brings up the home field advantage to be a real thing. Those fans will be lubed up. It's not something we touched on a lot. We talked on a little with Seattle during their preview, but home field is fully on this year, and it's going to make a difference. I think it's going to make a difference for some of these totals. Like if I had to bet this, both sides, I'd lay it with the Bills and I'd play the under.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm opposite on both. So this is going to be a good game. I guess.
Yeah, I can't bet the Steelers right now with the unknowns. And for me, it's a full pass game.
Okay. So stay away for Andy. I bet the Steelers here, and I waited all summer for this 7 to pop. Finally got it. Zachary comes through. That was nice. The 7 popped for the Bills and for the Steelers, and I grabbed it. And my rationale is not complicated. Are the Bills as good as last year? Maybe better? Yes. No questions about that. Your prior on the Bills should be very, very solid. Narrow range of outcomes, especially early in the season with this team. your prior on the Steelers is probably a little low, and it's because they tailed off towards the end of last season, and they were just awash with attrition at the, injuries to the defense, injuries to Ben Roethlisberger, just a fatigue injury in general with his arm. He just could not attack you deep, and everyone knew it. Everyone took advantage of it. The offense completely stalled, and I think realistically, with a little bit of investment that they've made in the running game, a little bit of a turnover at the offensive line, and I guess everybody knows this is a bottom 5 offensive line. But what if they're not? What if they're actually closer to league average? I still have yet to see it. It is going to be a different offensive line, that's for sure. And even if this offensive line stinks, Ben Roethlisberger has a tendency to get the ball out of his hand extremely quickly. And they have a little bit of an element of surprise in terms of how this offense will be creative. We may see some more play action than we usually see from Ben Roethlisberger. We may see some misdirection, some pre-snap motion, some plus EV concepts being weaved into Matt Canada's offense that we did not see under Fitchner, who stunk. And I think realistically, the element of surprise combined with the relative health of this team overall makes the gap a little smaller than a touchdown. Is 6.5 fair? It's still plus EV by my numbers. Is 6 fair? I wouldn't touch a 6. And realistically, I think that's where this is going. I pointed this out a dozen times already, and it's not a super strong argument. But last year when they played in December in Buffalo, it was a 2-point spread on the close. And you can argue till you're blue in the face that it should have been a 3.5-point spread, that was the true difference between those teams at that time. But I will argue you back just as strongly that Pittsburgh is in a better state now than they were then, on top of the fact that, you have a complete new look offensively. So it's going to take a little while for the Buffalo defense to kind of read and adjust and be a little sharper here.
And someone, I'm going to mangle his name, Akshesh Bekele. That's going to be close, I think. He said the Steelers' offensive line is different from last year, but there's no evidence that it's worse. I think that's a really good reason why I'm just staying away. I feel like if I had to set a probability, I think it's going to be worse. I don't know if it will. There's probably a high probability it's similar. And really, I don't want to find out with money. So I'm staying away from this game. I'm not teasing it. I'm not playing the total.
The total got bet down. This total got bet down pretty aggressively. This is one that was a little bit of a head scratcher because you do have so many offensive weapons, and this could be a game that's decided by that's competitive till the late stages. So not sure exactly what was driving that. I don't think this Bills defense is especially good. And also, the Bills play a little bit of, light boxes. They ask you to run on them to a degree, and that weirdly pairs with what Pittsburgh wants to do, which again is minus EV in the long run, is not going to help them win more games this season than they won last season. But for this game, I think it can help keep the score line a little closer. Realistically, you just need a couple of Josh Allen stops. And this is, we're talking about a 28-24 game, guys. This is going to be a 1-score deal under a touchdown, in my opinion. And I got the +7, and I'm tickled pink about that. So let's move down the card to the New York Jets, who take on the Carolina Panthers in North Carolina. Probably going to be a hot, sweaty, humid day down in Charlotte. You get to see two offenses that are relieved of the misery of Adam Gase play each other in the same game. And not only will the Jets offense have a much more updated look under Mike LaFleur, Matt LaFleur's older brother. Did we ever figure that out? I think it's his younger brother. Mike LaFleur now calling the shots for the Jets offense. Zach Wilson throwing the ball. And yes, he does look like a high school kid, but he absolutely showed that he had a live arm in the preseason. I can tell you that much. So going into this game with, if they can protect him to the degree that the investments they've made in the round one of their offensive line should be able to protect him, particularly from the blind side, then the Jets are going to score points in this one. And that makes them live at the current line of 5.5. This has been bet out pretty aggressively in favor of the Panthers, which I don't agree with. And it's been bet up pretty heavily. But guess what? That correlation is telling you. Panthers line going up, total going up, means that everybody has recognized how crap this Jets defense is. This Jets defense is going to get passed on with ease throughout the first half of the season. Later on in the season, as Saleh kind of gets his fingerprints on this team, maybe they play better. But for now, This over 43 was one of my favorite looks of the entire preseason. We've talked about it now, I think 2 or 3 or 4 times. And at long last, the market has come with us. We are out now at 45. My fair is 46. So it is not bettable at this point. But I'm happy to have that CLV. This is one of the few CLV wins that I am going to be putting in my pocket week 1.
Yeah, I essentially played a 43. I sold it to 44 at even or a little better. So I'm sitting on this one as well in the over. And it is weird that we found this weird correlation. Like I don't have a lot to say about this that you didn't say. Like the Jets' defensive injuries. Yeah, it was going to stink already. It's probably bad. But the Jets, like, you just watching what happened, like, I think, and this is not a long-term thing, because obviously long-term I'd rather have Zach Wilson than Darnold, but like I haven't seen anything that's like, oh, Darnold is just going to fix himself now that he's not the Jets organization anymore. Like that's not something I want to back and lay this many points, even at home against a kind of a stinky franchise. So like the correlation between the over going up and the Panthers stretching out makes me want to play it. Like I love the over. It's probably unbettable. You're right at 45, but I kind of want to look at like Jets team total over.
It's going to be like 20. It's going to be like 20.
I think the Jets do. I don't think this is like, the total went up because of the Jets defensive injuries. I've liked how the Jets offensive line has come together a little over the past, just what they've put together over the past few years. I like Wilson, how he looked in the preseason. I like some of their weapons. And we should say something nice about the weapons in Carolina. They have some good receivers and a fairly decent running back that also gets involved in the passing game. The question mark there is Darnold. Like, Darnold revenge game. But yeah, I'm not excited about laying points with Darnold ever until I see like, it was Gase.
Seriously.
It was Gase and like Brady fixed it.
Oh, no. Andy. So, we're not laying points with Darnold this season. No. I don't care how good he gets. Real quick, our friend Rob Pizzola loves the Jets this week, by the way. He was probably it was probably him who scooped all the +5.5s just now. He was very high on them when I talked to him this morning. And I think I don't love to grade our, a team total while I also have an over in that same game. But what do you think of the secret pod play on Jets team total over 20?
Jets team, we're doing it. Secret pod play.
Secret pod play.
Total over. I like this. And here's a good question by Cable 74. Fade rookie quarterback and coach though.
In a past life, yeah.
It is a thing, but not with somebody as inexperienced with rules starting over with a new quarterback too. Like it's not Belichick or Reed or even Carroll against a rookie head coach. It's a fairly young coaching duo, if you want to count Brady in that too, and doing it with a brand new quarterback. So yeah, I like the over. I like the Jets team total, but for there, we'll move on to more interesting games that don't involve me backing Darnold. So, oh God, I said more interesting games, and I brought up Jaguars Houston, where David Culley has not said anything that makes me want to back them. This is such a hard pass too. Rookie quarterback, rookie head coach combo combined with a guy who maybe shouldn't have a head coaching job, and Tyrod Taylor. Like, if you're betting on this game, you obviously put together a 16-team parlay, and you just felt you needed to include every team. I don't have strong takes on here. This is like a sneaky survivor. I bet some people try to sneak the Jags in as like a sneaky survivor pick if they have multiple entries. Like, I'm going to use the Jags here just because, like, it's really counterintuitive. I don't know. Like, maybe that's why I'm out of survivor in week 3 every week. But yeah, this one stinks up to high heaven. Like, it actually crossed the 3 at some places. Houston wasn't going to have Roby anyway, and now they, like, down the line, they just got worse again with a trade. And I wrote down rookie head coach quarterback are tough to back in week 1, but what you going to do? Bet Houston? So
yeah,
probably move on.
Yeah, to go back to our former point, if you want to bet the rookie QB and coach, do it with the Jets and get the points. Don't lay the points on the road. Like this is a different scenario, a different setup that I would not, doesn't speak to success. And honestly, they are. Houston, great comment. Houston is objectively tanking. They traded like one of their players that had a freaking pulse today. The point I was going to make though was skip divisional week 1 for Survivor. If you're into that
for
sort
sure.
of thing. Skip it.
I got involved with the Jaguars last year. I took in like 3 leagues. Learned
do you remember how that went? That was their only game they won all season. And this could be and if you're telling me that there's one game on the Houston schedule that is winnable this season, it is their home opener. Is their home opener where they're hosting a rookie quarterback and he's laying points. Realistically also 3 points is fair.
I'm just doing that. I'm not saying cut Drew off.
Yeah, no.
My producer Dan looked at me like, "What?
Too long. You're going too long. You're going too long on a game we were supposed to skip."
Don't bet this game.
Easiest pass on the board. The Jaguars at +3 implies that they're 4 or 5 points better on a neutral than Houston. That's probably right. That's probably correct.
It might be right.
Houston's probably a -10. Houston's probably -10. The Jags are probably a -6. Give Houston maybe some home field bump, maybe downgrade Jags because it's their first ever game in the NFL. At least Trevor Lawrence's, and I'm fine with Jaguars winning by 3. That seems the most likely outcome here. Let's keep on moving to another game that I passed on. I don't have as good a reason why this was a pass. Tennessee, and I also don't have a good reason why Tennessee took money here. This was a 2.5 at one point. It has now been bet up to 3. The Titans are an easy skip for me over the duration of this season, and Cardinals similarly. There are huge questions for me in terms of how they'll be able to defend AJ Brown and company in the passing game. At the same time, though, Titans offense is going to take a step back in the absence of Art Smith. So if I had to pick a side here for some sort of work pool or something, I'm just taking the points with the Cardinals and hoping that Kyler Murray does something special. Otherwise, this is an easy skip.
Yeah, probably an easy skip for me too. I will say we talked about that. One of the higher totals on the board. I think it's probably the highest total that doesn't involve the Chiefs. And I wrote something about Kyler Murray is the favorite in the market for most passing yards week 1 because it's a high total. It's probably going to be a back and forth game. He does have some. I'm not like an AJ Green guy, but Rondell. There's some new toys, and he's healthy. He looked really good the first half of the season when his shoulder wasn't hurt, when he was able to run the ball, and they did buff up the receiver core again, and they have a legitimate top 5 receiver on this team. So Cardinals going to get theirs. I think it is still a bad secondary, even though they did add some pieces in the offseason. You don't just fix a secondary like that without making a big free agent splash. And I think the Cardinals do get theirs, but their team total is probably going to be 24-ish. If there's a 23.5 reasonably, I might get involved. And I did say the back and forth nature of it and why Kyler was favorite. I did find some of that too. The Tannehill to lead the league in passing week 1, not including the Thursday game, just Sunday and Monday only. He was 20-1 compared to Kyler being the favorite. I felt like they're going to run a little more with Mr. Tractor Cito, but still. That felt like a little bit of value. So I got involved in a small prop, and that's about it. And yeah.
Is that a prize pick?
Hard skip.
Was that a prize pick?
No. This was it was a WinBet. WinBet had a bunch of fun props.
Oh, okay, cool.
Did you hear that truck?
Yeah, wow.
That's crazy loud. All right. Better moving team. On. Oh, we just keep clicking it. We're both clicking at the same time. Chargers and the football team. I want your opinion on this. This is never easy for a West Coast team to travel that far east. Is it greatly lessened by the fact that it's week 1 and you didn't have to play a preseason game or anything last week?
Yes.
I'm almost wiping it out completely as a situational problem.
I am as well. Happily we'll take teams that traveled across the coasts if the price is right. The problem is the price is not right here.
Yeah.
What would you have needed to get involved with the Chargers?
Man,
are the Chargers the right side?
So, and again, there's no value on the 0.
This is the toughest breakdown.
And the ones are dumb too. So if you look at book to book, some places I've seen 1.5 on. I don't even remember which team. Both teams are favored at certain books. So I would want it to be 2.5 for the Chargers, and then at that point you're saying, well, Andy, wouldn't you? Yes, I would just bet the money line. The only way I would bet this is a Chargers money line if I was getting a better price. A lot of uncertainty here too. And if you think, again, going back to what we started with, if you think you're ahead of the market and you really, really think the sophomore slump isn't a thing, Keenan Allen is sneakily possibly a top 5 receiver if he's healthy all the time, and this head coach is going to work out. Maybe this is an absolute laugher when you go back and look at it and be like, oh man, Washington won a division, but they actually didn't win that many games. And when you look at the games they won, they didn't play any good quarterbacks hardly. Like Washington was a paper tiger last year, even though they had a fun playoff game. We go back and look at this when the Chargers are in the playoffs and we're like, man, you could get them at a dog price at certain places on week 1 against a team that won like 6 or 7 games. So I'm not getting involved, but I think it's one of these that we might be able to look back and feel funny about.
Yeah. Okay.
We need to help this guy out. Wife's taking the house back. 55%.
Okay. You want a real tip here? If you were trying to hit 55% this week, stick to college. There are still big edges in college football. The edges in the NFL are much, much narrower. I can already tell you this. You're going to catch bigger edges in the NFL weeks 2, 3, 4 as there's some overreaction and some reshaping of the market, and there's some injuries that we don't know are important or we think are more important or less important than the market. NFL week 1 is not a great time to try to make up the mortgage payment. This game is extremely difficult for me to cap. I have talked myself into, well, maybe the Chargers, maybe Washington. The over might be actually the under has a look. I can make a case almost for any bet that you would want to make in this game, which means this is an easy walk away from. But I will for sure be paying close attention because Andy, believe it or not, we're going to learn a few things.
This will be a learning game. God. Who's our guy? I'm going to give this guy props, even though he's probably not watching. But little Hawaiian guy, Aaron Waters show. That's
Aaron. Yes, top cocky.
He's top cocky. Yeah, his thing. You're either winning or learning. In his UFC articles. I'm going to retweet his next UFC articles because I enjoy reading his stuff. But yeah, this is you don't always win. Some of these are learning ones. And yes, it's like the UCLA LSU game we talked about the other day. Somebody brought that up. I think, no, it was on Brown Bag. We talked to Felica about that. And he said it's a very interesting market. And I talked to a few people about that. Boy, there were some varying opinions. And I was of the opinion that we should just learn about that LSU team from the game. And I think we did learn a lot. And maybe UCLA might be a pretty good team as well. So, this is a learning game, and I'm not betting it.
Okay, let's talk about one that we did bet. And I think you went first on that one, so I'll go first on this one. I don't know that you bet this, actually. I bet this I bet the over in Eagles-Falcons at 48. This Eagles team.
You talked me into it.
Falcons. Okay, so let's let me step back and set the entire table here for you. Philadelphia. This is number 463 in the rotation. The Atlanta Falcons have vacillated between -3 and -3.5 throughout the duration of the summer. The market cannot make up its mind. Lay the hook or take the hook. It has been a push and pull that we have seen go on now for months. And ultimately, we are looking right now at a Falcons -3. That's probably where it closes. But the matchup that really matters here is both offenses against both defenses, in my opinion. You have an Atlanta offense that got a shot in the arm this offseason by upgrading their head coach and offensive vision. Art Smith takes the show on the road to Atlanta and has a multitude of toys to work with in the passing game. All he needs is league average or better pass protection for Matt Ryan, and Matt Ryan has a revitalization sort of a season on the horizon, and it's mostly going to be done through the air, as far as I can tell you. So this is a great setup for going up against the Philadelphia Eagles team. Eagles, bottom 5 secondary by my numbers. Falcons, bottom 5 secondary by my numbers.
Yeah.
Eagles also have a very decent kind of diverse set of passing game weapons. They can give you some 2 tight end looks. They can give you some 3 wide receiver looks that are both interesting. The Quez Watkins emergence is interesting to me. Smith is finally healthy. He'll be out there. Rieger may not be very good at this, but he'll at least be available. So this could be a shootout, aerial attack shootout. And Jalen Hurts, people will be hard on him for the duration of this season unless he does something awesome. The public opinion on Hurts is real cool. After only seeing him play like three 3 games last year. So I'm not sure exactly why that is, but that is the truth right now. And ultimately, he can play well out of structure. He is a scrambling machine. And I think this Eagles team is going to be able to put up some points. The Eagles were a great overbet last year with a depleted wide receiver core when Hurts was in the game. Similarly, the Falcons, I think, with an actual offensive vision, finally, after all these years, are going to be a nice over team.
I love that you said vision there too, because that's a big part. That's a big part of my notes.
Okay, you ready for this question? You probably have some opinion on this. Is this the only Falcons game that will be lined in the 40s this season?
I'd have to look at the schedule. There might be some other 49s. Like it depends what we see from. And I do think the Falcons defense will probably stink. And really, the offense probably is improved. I give it a high probability that Art Smith can do something with this offense. So maybe, but yeah. And again, if this offense really clicks this week against, and again, you did shit on the Eagles secondary, and this Eagles secondary is going to kind of stink out loud. But they did have a lot of injuries the last couple of years, not just on the line and some skill position players, but they ran through some injuries too, in the front seven, and they're. I don't want to compare them to Tennessee. I think Tennessee's worse. But they're Tennessee-esque, where it's like, all right, the front seven, okay, and actually Philly is better, and the secondary just not good. It will be able to be beat, which sucks in a passing league. So, the Eagles' defense probably can get a pass rush, but can't cover much. So, it might not mean a hill of beans when Matt Ryan looks really good again. Especially if the defense stinks. I do like your over. You convinced me I took a little bit. And, yeah, it'll come down to really, I think and maybe I'm talking myself into a Falcons bet, which I won't make. But I think the Falcons will get theirs just through the passing game, having, Ridley and Pitts, and hopefully being able to avoid that Philly pass rush. But it'll be the Hurts thing. Does Hurts work? The Eagles' offensive line should be better. Is it better? I think it's not going to really matter against the pass rush that Atlanta's going to offer.
Well,
so maybe the offensive line will probably look good.
The only thing you could say positive about the Atlanta defense towards the end of last season was that they were getting pressure because they were blitzing the shit out of the football late in the season. They were actually playing relatively well defense. They were keeping it together. Outside of a couple of low effort performances, and it was mostly because of the blitz. The problem is when they went up against a decent offensive line and didn't get home, then their guys were exposed on the back end, and that is how I see this playing out.
Both sides,
exactly. So I'll give you 10 points if you can name the defensive coordinator for the Eagles under Nick Sirianni. And where he came from. We
probably talked about this guy.
Jonathan Cannon, I believe. Jonathan Cannon. He was the defensive backs coach in Indianapolis.
Sure.
He's taking over for Jim. He's taking over for Jim Schwartz.
Yeah, two rookie head coaches. Another learning game. I really want to learn about the Falcons' offense and how bad this defense can be, and we got to find out a lot about Jalen Hurts in the regular season in a game that actually, because they all matter at this point in the season.
You know what a brilliant setup will be? If the Eagles can somehow pull off the upset, and granted, I have some Art Smith Coach of the Year that I'd love to see live late in the season, so I'm not rooting for Falcons losses. But if the Falcons were to break everyone's heart again, because that's sort of in their DNA, and the Eagles get upgraded by the market because their offense looks amazing against the poor Falcons defense. Next, and then let's say Jimmy G and the Niners go to Detroit and are kind of meh, right? And they're the Trey Lance insertion plays are just throwaway plays, right? And it's a lackluster low win. They cover the teaser leg, but they don't really impress, right? Niners next week against the Falcons are going to be a great bet. And I would love to get that number under a touchdown. And I think it will be under a touchdown. It's in Philly. But I have big eyes for that Niners spot.
Even just Philly's offense clicking. Even if they do lose the game. And it's like, this was a way to start the season with essentially a rookie quarterback too. It's not like he has a ton of playing time. It's like a baseball thing. It's like, this guy played for the Rays in the playoffs, but he's a rookie again this year. So, essentially rookie head coach, rookie quarterback, going down to Atlanta, putting up a decent amount of points and losing, I think you'll still get a little market sentiment and get your wish there.
Okay.
And I'm manifesting so many Falcons 17-0 seasons in my head. can't lose this one. Dan loves that one. So yeah, no, probably no bet out here. And truthfully, like if you made me bet this, I'd take the Eagles straight out. I wouldn't even fuck around with the points. I would just bet the Eagles to win on the money line.
It's a coin flip. Yeah, it's a coin flip.
Is. Seahawks and Colts was interesting because not really from anything recent, maybe, but the last few weeks, the Carson Wentz saga got it. Him and a lineman in walking boots like that. And then all of a sudden it's like, what were we thinking? Like 6-8 weeks? Maybe we were trading for a quarterback, and then like 3 days later, the timetable is completely shifted. It's like, oh man, they might be back. And then, the market's got a little wonky on this. It went wonky immediately. People were betting every sort of Colts under and just hammering the Seahawks. And truthfully, like, if you took all that and made it go away, the win stuff, the other injuries, everything that's happened to this team, and they were completely healthy and we were excited about this team coming into the game, I think I can still make a case for the Seahawks under a field goal on the road against this team. Again, Frank Reich's a good coach. I love him to death. We like what they've done. But man, I'm just not – Carson Wentz is ever going to be a good bandwagon. And we're kind of excited about the Seahawks. I think our biggest trepidation was our guy – Shoddy. Yeah. Who am I?
Shoddy's a departure.
Yeah, Shoddy's departure. I thought I had the wrong guy for a second. Shoddy's departure was a philosophy clash, and there was people who posited that the early season Seahawks that were fun when Russ was cooking was Shoddy, doing something different, and then it got reined in, and then that's why they parted ways. Again, an offensive coordinator was let go after setting the most points, a record for the most points a team has ever scored in, not a team, the Seahawks franchise record for most points in a season. And then you let him go. So definitely some philosophy issues there. And we said, like, if the new guy is a yes man and he says, yeah, we'll run the ball a lot because that's what Carroll wants to do and we're going to go old school like we have, or second half of the season, it's not going to be fun. At first, I said, if he has the balls to stand up to Pete Carroll and the man and say this is how we should do things, I don't think that's it. I think it's the sugar or honey over vinegar thing. Like, if maybe he's just better at explaining to Pete Carroll, here's what worked in those games where Russ was looking like he was anointed MVP early in the season. He pretty much had it according to the media, and then it just everything regressed. So maybe if he's just better at explaining to Carroll and the powers that be that this is what we need to do to be, let's get one more Super Bowl run out of this team before you go back to college because all that stuff has finally gone away and you can go back to coaching the kids again. I doubt he does that, but he's got to be getting closer to retirement as well. So that's where I'm stuck on this. And again, probably a learning thing, but if the Seahawks are looking good, this is one of those where if it's Seahawks by 14 at half and the second half is like Colts +4, I'm probably laying it with the Seahawks. If I'm excited about this offense. Like, it's a team I could double down on offense.
Yeah, this was an easy pass for me because the Colts are just an enormous wild card. They had the worst preseason of any team in the NFL. I think it was a huge minus for them that Carson Wentz missed the time that he did because they didn't get to internally evaluate him and understand what they have, and they didn't get to complete the reclamation process by getting him lots of comfortable reps in camp and really building some chemistry with the wide receiving core that's pretty young. And if this were a perfectly healthy offensive line, which it's not at a bunch of places now, then I would at least say I will entertain the idea that Carson Wentz experiment may work. At this point, I am not willing to entertain that idea. And I think the Seahawks are cheap at 2.5. And I think this total is low at 49.5. There has been some really aggressive push-pull on this today. Have you seen that?
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was leaning to.
Every time the board's lit up, it's like 2.5, 3. Juice is indexing 49.5, 50. Like, this has been Just the market cannot make its mind up today.
It's another road team that I'd be willing to back a team total over on, because you're talking like a 25.5, 26.
Yeah.
Indoors, opening the season healthy. I love their wide receiver weapons. I don't want to do it before I know what I'm going to get. Although I did love some of the stuff I saw in the preseason, some of the unique stuff. And usually you don't see much in the preseason. They do hide some of that. So, and Femi brings up I wouldn't even tease the Colts. Like this, it is a high variance game. This could be a close one, but there's a decent chance that the Colts lose this by like 21. If this Seattle offense is working and the Wentz thing is – if Wentz looks like Wentz has looked, this could be a blowout, which is a bad way to start your season at home. Yeah. So,
and it's also one where the Seahawks could be up by 14 and just let the Colts right the hell back into the game. Like anything good.
Yeah, high variance game I don't love, but if I had to bet it, probably Seattle over or just the over. Yeah. And again, I'm scared of the Colts, so we're leaving that alone. Here's a shitty game.
Hopefully. I played the under. So, hope you're right.
Yeah, before I let you explain the under, boy, how about the crossover with this? Was Zimmer being there, Mackenzie Alexander being there and back, other guys that were
Trey Waynes.
I feel like there was a coach that just got let go somewhere else that Zimmer picked up because he used to coach them in Cincy. Like these teams are inherently tied together.
Is Minnesota Cincinnati North or is Cincinnati Minnesota South?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like they're, how like sometimes you roll into a town and it's got like, here's some city in Guatemala.
Sister city.
Like
sister city, yeah.
Although Cincinnati is known as the Queen City.
The Queen City, it's the Queen City.
And Minneapolis is, of course, a twin city with St. Paul. With that amount of history,
so
that's
Minneapolis
about all
already has a sister.
That's about all we have to say about that game. But yeah, the Vikings secondary can't get worse because I think that's about the floor for as bad as the secondary can get. That said, it's not like they did a lot to improve it. The only positive, and we mentioned this in the preview, was a lot of those young guys got a lot of snaps. That's got to be worth something. People that think this Vikings secondary is going to turn around on the back of a few people being back. I mean, the linebackers are good, and they might have a little bit of a pass rush, but the secondary kind of stinks. The Riley Reef Bowl, there you go. So, honestly, the Bengals money line is kind of live here. I don't have high hopes for the Vikings this year. And, the Minnesota offense, if it doesn't click here, this game goes way under.
Whew. I hope that's how it goes.
And Chase,
I thought the market. Chase looks lost, man. He's having some serious crisis of confidence, and that's not something you want week one as a rookie when you are a 5th overall pick. The Bengals, I think there is a reasonable expectation that the high-flying 50 to 60 passes a game Cincinnati Bengals that you saw last year under Zach Taylor is not going to manifest for a couple of weeks, maybe months. I think that the likelihood that the Bengals come in with a conservative approach to try to protect Joe Burrow, to try to get him some game reps in a comfortable setting, having coming off of that major knee surgery, I think is high. And we know that the Vikings are going to leave points on the field because that's what the Vikings do. And if the Bengals did any kind of positive upgrades to their defense and all the investments that they made in the offseason, if the Vikings made any kind of positive upgrades to their defense with all the investments they made this offseason, then these are two underrated defensive teams against two conservative offensive approaches. I am mad that the market will not come with me on this 48. I haven't been stumping super hard. This is the bet of the week. I'm not trying to influence anyone here. I thought it was going to happen more organically, but my fair total on this one is well off market and it is not going down.
Here's a plan. And this is all I'll say on this because I agree with a lot of what you say and I don't have a lot of takes in this game, but the biggest thing to me is the Minnesota. They have that good zone run scheme. Dalvin Cook is obviously an absolute stud. And then when they get to these 3rd or 4th down situations, they absolutely turn their brains into mush and don't do anything right. They continually let drives stall, let touchdown drives turn into field goals or missed field goals. So what if we live bet the under every time Minnesota has a first down across the 50? because it'll be that those drives are worth what, roughly 5 points.
Yeah,
and they'll get 3 way more than 7. So I think I'm kind of down with that. And yeah, if the Minnesota defense can get any sort of pass rush, I'm a little worried about Joe Burrow. I mean, it goes without saying that the line is still obviously an issue in Cincinnati.
That scenario you just described was Cincinnati Week 1 last year against the Chargers to a T.
Oh my God.
To a T. Yeah. Do you remember how many in your opponent's territory punts there were in that game? There was like 5. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I was going to say some of those drives are going to end up with 0.
Yes, 0. You're going to get some zeros there. Yeah. I guess Bengals offensive line still a huge question mark. Riley Reif is their best player. Interior of that offensive line is especially problematic, which means if the pass rush upgrades worked at all for Minnesota, they're going to be in the backfield a lot. One of our sharper friends laid the shit out of this Vikings -3. You didn't have an opinion on
that? I don't like either side here.
There's a lot of smart people that were laying the small chalk a lot this week, which was kind of surprising.
Yeah, the road chalk.
A lot of road chalk
being laid. Dangerous. And yeah, the Bengals, again, I played like I dutched some alternate total win totals. Like, I think I have an under 2.5 on them at a decent sized number. So
okay.
I'll be cheering for the Vikings, and not because I'm from here. So, yeah, and somebody mentions a teaser. Even though they are a home dog, if you had a 2.5 that you could tease up, I guess, but I'm not doing it with a very big question mark at quarterback and probably a lame duck head coach. So probably
there'll be better spots to bet the Bengals. Give them time to kind of reacclimate and give Chase time to get his head right. Whatever the fuck's going on there.
Niners, Drew, California team. That's where you're from.
Heading to the Detroit Lions. Scary when you're a team that's coming off of all of the injuries that the Niners did last season, and you're going to play a team that intends to bite kneecaps. I think the likelihood that the Niners get out of this game healthy is their top priority. They much more important that they get their squad some reps, some game time under them, and start to get their season off to a better start than last year, because last year it went careening off of the cliff immediately. So very hopeful that guys like Nick Bosa look good. Very hopeful that Jimmy Garoppolo can be competent leader of this team, because I have a little bit of exposure on the Niners doing something ultimately this season, and I'd like to see them get off to a decent start against the Lions team that is utterly lost. Franchise vision is somewhat more. You can sell me the vision of this Lions franchise more so than you can sell me some of the other teams that are kind of aiming for purgatory this year, whereas the Lions are kind of more like realistically, like we're going to build our young players in the trenches and really target 2022 and beyond. But the coaching is a huge problem, really, at least the head coach. So we'll see. Prepared to be wrong about that. Who the hell knows?
We could be wrong about anything. We still have to take stances. What would you say is the biggest weakness of the 49ers secondary? Shit, I kind of gave that was a Freudian slip. I was going to say defense. The biggest
secondary, it's it's specifically the depth. It's specifically the depth. Jason
and the depth too. If they have to go nickel, if they have to go dime, if someone gets hurt, they're in deep trouble. This is like me pointing at a fourth grader trying to show him the alphabet. Like, this is just the easiest thing. So if you have a bad secondary, you have to worry about getting beat by a good passing game.
Yes.
The Lions have 32 out of 32.
Let's not shame St. Brown. He looks kind of gnarly. He looks kind of nice.
It's bottom 5 receiver core.
Bottom one.
It is the bottom 1 receiver core. It is a downgrade at quarterback, possibly even a downgrade at coach, philosophy, offense. The running back situation isn't any better than it ever was. Swift with some injuries. So the offense is still not going to be able to get it done. It's just like this could be one of those. Remember when the Niners won 9-0 on a 10-point spread? It's like the inverse of that. Like, the Niners cover this by scoring 10. The Niners might cover this scoring 10 points. Like that's the biggest thing is you have a road favorite over a touchdown with a pretty low total. That's what they're saying about the line. That's insulting if you're Detroit because it's like, oh man, we're a big dog at home, and at least the total's 45. Like their implied team total is pretty low for
this
home.
Is the best. Yeah, this is the best.
So this is the best.
This is the best teaser leg on the board, and it's not close.
Even being on the road, and it has discouraged to use road favorites, but man, yes, open up some open ones if you want. I will be. If we go down, we'll all go down together on this one. Yeah. And this is and Sewell forgot how to block. Like, there's nothing really good happening in Detroit. Hopefully they got the water fixed up that way.
Real quick,
that's Flint. That's Joey territory.
I mean, at least Goff has some experience playing against the Niners. It's all bad. He has sucked every time he goes up against his team. He tends to turn into a pumpkin, but that's fine. Let's keep moving down to Browns Chiefs. This is the main event. The main event. Yes. 55 minutes into the podcast, and we finally get to the game that matters the most, and it is the Browns and the Chiefs. I have not really heard your ultimate take on this one, so I will not pollute the water with my general thoughts here, and I would like to hear what you think, how this handicap shakes out, and what to expect in preview of the AFC Championship, ?
Yeah, Browns are live, aren't they? If they want to take that next step. Like, again, you're playing a team who has an aura of not invincibility, but it's a team that's been to the Super Bowl twice in a row. AFC title game 3 years in a row now, is it? Yeah, very good team, obviously. The Andy Reid off a bye joke works when it's the bye off a preseason game. Like Andy Reid with time to prepare, knowing he has to prepare for an upstart team that made the playoffs, won a playoff game, is finally healthy, has the defensive player of the year, has probably shored up their defense with some drafting and additions, is probably stronger on offense by becoming completely healthy. And really the biggest question mark here is the retooled, reconfigured defensive line for Kansas City. And that's what I'll be watching. Like, I'll really be interested in that because I know what Patrick Mahomes is going to do. I know Kelsey is going to eat. I know Tyreek Hill is fast. Like, all these things are good. Things are going to happen. This total is the highest on the board for a reason because despite the Browns defense being very good, the Chiefs will get theirs. And, the Chiefs defense can be beaten. You can't have perfect players every position unless you reside in the Bay of Tampa. And they still have a few, there's a few chinks in the armor as well for every team. And this one, their defense is not as good as their offense. It's just pretty easy to say the Browns will be able to score just because they have so much talent. And they were vibing at the end of the year, right? That was a thing. Now you get Odell back, and if Mayfield doesn't absolutely flub it and regress, this is a fun team. I don't have a bet here. If I was going to bet something, I'd probably take the points. Really. Like, I think the Browns can hang with anybody. Like, the boost of confidence playing that well in the postseason. Like, honestly, that's a game that they should have won in the postseason. There was some funkiness, and I won't remind you of the play that kind of turned things around there. We had a lot of that in the postseason. Ask the Saints too. I mean, these things, one play can really screw things up. But I'm not betting it, but I would take the Browns if I had to.
Okay. I took the Browns here. I was waiting for sevens. They never came. So I gave up. I gave up. I took 6.5. My fair is 4.5. So I am 2 points off market. I'm probably a point high on the Browns relative to market. I may be a half a point low on the Chiefs relative to market. And I know I'm a half point low for home field advantage heading into the season. So that's probably how that math works out. But I'm 2 points off here. Patrick, same brain space as me. The general thesis really is and honestly, you're the fourth smart NFL handicapper I've talked to today who the disrespect for Travis Kelce stopper Jeremiah Owusu Koromoa is it's outrageous. This slander will not be tolerated in the JOK Stan household here. He is going to absolutely.
I like JOK too. That's easier. Yeah, and really, like, I don't lean on my power ratings as hard in week one because I know they're wrong. I know they're more wrong than they're going to be eventually. But at the same time, I can't find a world where I can make the numbers make them 4.5, 5 points worse. Like a lot closer to 3. So
okay.
God damn it, I'm going to join you on that. I'm going to sell it.
So let me talk about a couple of these. So if you've already got some Browns futures, part of that thesis was whatever probability they have to win this game, if that comes through, then all of a sudden that probability that they have added to getting the 1 seed is massive. It's big. And that's where you're going to capture that value. Even in a very, 1 game sample size, you're going to capture some value right away if they get this win. They are obviously coming in with a completely healthy squad, which matters. An offensive line that should be able to hold off the Chiefs' defensive line, even with their new configuration. And Baker Mayfield, without being pressured, with a full healthy set of wide receivers, should be able to score some points on this defense, which makes them live in my book. Anytime you're going to back a team that's going to go up against the Chiefs, ask yourself, can they score 30 points? If the answer is yes, then they're back, then they're a play. If the price is right, and that qualifies here for me. The Browns teams can score points. The Browns defense, I'm not counting on them holding off. I was joking entirely about the JO. I was JOKing about the Travis Kelce stopping. The Browns defense I'm not expecting them to be good enough to hold off the Chiefs from getting into the 30s here at all. In fact, this has a lot of the whiffs of the old Patriots Chiefs heads to heads,
Rams Chiefs,
Rams Chiefs, like team with the ball last wins kind of a deal. And ultimately, I think this Browns defense will be great if they stay healthy by the time we get to the end of the season, ultimately. But there's so many new pieces. There's enough guys that are coming off injury. There's enough, chemistry issues and assignments and communication. All that's going to be tested, particularly in a hostile environment like Arrowhead. So I think the likelihood that this flies over the total is real. And I think ultimately the Browns are alive to get the upset still. And I took 6.5. So, I got to put my money where my mouth is.
I'm on it.
I've talked to this fucking team. I've talked them up for going on 2 months now at this point. So I had to put my money where my mouth was to a degree. I couldn't sit out this game, which is so fucking important. And honestly, Andy, let me do one more little thought experiment with you. You ready for this?
Oh, I love a thought experiment here and there.
Let's pretend like the Browns really do pull off the impossible and get the win. And let's pretend on Monday Night Football, the public who goes to war with the Baltimore Ravens in the Get Back Monday Night Football game, let's say the Ravens take care of business, just eat through the Raiders, right? What does Chiefs at Ravens open for week 2? That is your Sunday Night Football game next week.
I'd probably have them power ranked pretty closely then. But the market would still want to give them some respect. -2?
You think?
You still would be -1.5, 2. I feel it should be like a pick or even Ravens -1, but I feel like you still have to. The priors, like they wouldn't want to take. They wouldn't want to take the Ravens as like a plus money line.
So don't walk to the window to get Chiefs before it hits 3.
Yeah, probably. I have a Dos Equis.
Okay, so we already got a play lined up for our Sunday openers pod, I think.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited for that. That's maybe my favorite thing. I love these, but I'm pumped for that. So, all right.
Let's move down.
Yeah, we are in agreement. We're both betting it.
Dolphins Pats. I'll kick this one off. This is one of the 2 plays that I made this week that I'm losing to the market on. I bet over 44 here. And now I could have gotten over 43.5, which I absolutely hate because 44 is a key number. And if this lands on 44, I'm going to be fucking steaming. And I'm going to find some way to complain that there was a bad beat in there. We should have been one more point out there. But don't get me wrong. The Patriots made a very, very good decision to start Mac Jones week 1. And I honestly, my live reaction was literally Belichick hasn't lost his fastball like I thought he might be. This is a great sign that they are going to try to make one more run at a championship with this new quarterback in play. And, we'll see if that ever manifests or even comes close. I do not have a strong opinion on that now, but you're better off finding out now than you are waiting and seeing, learning for yourself when Cam Newton is finally washed, and that you're not going to win games that way in the NFL in today's day and age. So I'm glad that they made this decision. This is not a great opener to put him into to throw him out there. Divisional game. These are always a little weird, but I think ultimately it upgrades the Patriots' ceiling offensively significantly. They can play faster. The aerial attack is going to be more vertical, less horizontal. That's a huge positive considering where they invested in the offseason. The running back situation is outstanding for the Patriots. The offensive line is top 5 with a bullet for the Patriots. This is a team that is going to be a solid overplay for many weeks until the market catches up, because people assume that a Belichick Patriots defense is going to grind it out and be, and hold their opponents' heads underwater. When in reality, this Patriots defense is very suspect to the pass specifically. And they have loaded up on the defensive line. Their pass rushers showed flash in the preseason, but and they're going up against the Dolphins offensive line that stinks out loud. However, there will be plays in this game when the Dolphins pass pro holds up and the cornerbacks are going to be exposed. Stephon Gilmore is on the pup. JC Jackson has taken a step backwards. CBs 2 and 3 that are going to be on the field a lot are guys that I do not have a ton of confidence that they should be out in an NFL field just yet. They may get there towards the end of the season. This Patriots defense, we may have a different discussion in week 15 than we're having in week 1. But right now, this Patriots defense is going to give up points. Dolphins, on the other hand, great wide receiver room. We've talked about this ad nauseum this offseason. Tua, I'm not saying he's going to go out and become the next Dan Marino by any stretch of the imagination. My grade on him is low, and this might not work. But it's at least, they are in play for 20-ish points here. And I think ultimately this is a decent over spot. Plus you have 2 young quarterbacks that could turn the ball over, giving each other short fields or even defensive points, which the Dolphins defense is known for. Do you have a general sense as to why this ticked down after the news of Mac Jones is the quarterback and Stephon Gilmore is on PUP? You're muted.
I'm still thinking. I don't fully. I'm not fully grasping the move. Although I wasn't in love with the over. Like, I get it, and I do like some of the things they did. I like how they're going to use 2 really talented tight ends. I liked how Mac Jones looked in the preseason, but I also like the Miami defense. I like that Flores knows what, partially is going to know what to expect for the most part. It is a divisional game, week 1. But it is up north. And, yeah, I'm worried about Miami holding up their end of the bargain. I'm really, really too agnostic this year as far as I don't know what we're going to see. I hope the Dolphins are good. I like the rebuild. But, yeah, and somebody says, Bama versus Bama quarterback. That is how often does that happen when it's not backups? Bama quarterbacks just don't seem to make it. AJ McCarron, looking at you. I didn't have a strong take on this game. I would, again, if I had to bet this, it would be the Dolphins straight up. And, live, laugh, love. That's not what it says. Love, live, laugh, live, love.
Almost got it.
I still can't do it. So I can see your points, but I actually would lean towards this being a pretty good line. And, again, the Dolphins maybe getting this done.
I wish I did.
I mean, when's the last time we had to see – and they have had time to prep. It wasn't like the Matt Castle year where he just got thrown in, and that was a very talented team outside of him. It's starting to feel like our priors over the last 20 years are too strong for Bill Belichick, and starting over with a rookie quarterback might be as much of a disaster as it is for a mortal man. So I liked what they did with the offense as far as the additions they made in free agency. but I was really hoping they'd bring in a quarterback if you want it to be good. Mac Jones might be the answer. I'm trepidatious about both offenses, and I like the Dolphins defense better. The Patriots defense, I've been on record saying it's going to take 6 weeks. They always figure it out, but they might not be good at first. So I wish you the best of luck.
Okay. I wish I didn't play it. I hate getting involved in division games week 1. It's never a good feeling.
Yeah,
they're always weird. They're always fluky. In the back of my head, I'm going to have those same thoughts. These 2 games that they played last season, 21-11, 22-12, just weird ass games between these 2 teams in general. So yeah, not feeling super about that one. I fucked up, guys. I'm gonna own that one. Shouldn't gotten involved. There'll be better chances to back Patriots overs later in the season. Specifically, what do you think? I guess can I make up real quick? Can I make up some lost units on this, assuming it goes under? If I bet over 43 Patriots Jets,
maybe. I kind of like that.
Okay, all right. So week 2, I might get my over back. I might get my over money back week 2. Okay. Right now that total's sitting at 44. So if this one goes under 43.5, that total almost certainly opens up under 44.
All right, a couple more games, and then I can gamble. Broncos -3 at the Giants. Not really interested in the side, even though now that it's come down to it, the Broncos, another road favorite, are probably the right side with everything happening. I don't know, honestly, what we're going to get out of Saquon. Our DFS play of the week of the century is dead because Ingram is out. I've never been a big Daniel Jones guy. I like some of the things he does. I like it when they did design runs for him. I thought that he was underrated with the ball in his hands in that sense. But I love both of these defenses. I really like the secondary. And we went with Teddy covers, not Teddy scores a lot. This is going to be a more conservative offense, even with some good receivers. Getting, again, a new quarterback in a new situation who's his whole career been, yeah, I'll take what the defense gives me. Taking what the defense gives me does not get 50 points, especially if I don't believe in this Giants offense against the Broncos at all. Like this just feels like a 17-10 game all day long. I played under 42 at plus money when it was a little higher. And yeah, that's one of my 3 plays now because I actually just bet the Browns while we were on air.
All right. I wish I had gotten involved with what number did you get in this?
40, I think 42 plus 101.
Okay. And
it moved a lot. It's hard to move. There's only so much. It's not the preseason.
Yeah. If people are listening to this on Friday, Saturday, and it lands on 41, would you tell people to bet that or steer clear? Because I think that's where it's going.
I would try to find a 42. Like I wouldn't want to bet 41 and have 41. Even though I just said it lands on 27. I don't know. Depends on your risk tolerance.
Okay.
You did a good morning too. Good morning, everybody.
I think you must have replied, and you replied with the YouTube, and Adam was watching very Periscope, so I wanted to give him some Periscope. That's funny.
Yeah, he didn't see that. That's hilarious.
This the Dos Equis hitting, like Femi said. Okay. The the Giants. Goddamn. The Broncos are a team that I desperately want to tease against, but I want to tease against them with a better team than the Giants. Yeah. The Broncos are a team that I definitely will tease as a small dog, but I obviously you're not teasing the Broncos through 0.
No, but if you did want to tease this game, rather than teasing the total up to 48, I would tease Broncos +3, Giants +9. I feel like it's a game that lands
Iron Cross
by 5 or 6.
Iron Cross.
Oh
yeah,
don't
Iron
even bring
Cross.
that up. So. Yeah, I'm on the under. I love this one a
lot. Okay. All right. I think that's a solid play. I really do. And as Mickey noted, Sumo's on Broncos for the Matchbook Insight. Although he got 2.5, and by all means, you got to pay attention to those numbers, man, because you think a low scoring like this isn't going to land on 3, you're bananas. So Broncos by 3 feels exactly right to me, and that is an easy pass. Packers are out to -4 versus the Saints in Jacksonville, weird game considering the locale has been moved from the Superdome, which is currently Blackout Dome, and will probably it will probably be a while until we see Saints in the Superdome again. Maybe week 4 against the Giants. If not, then we're talking about Halloween against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But ultimately, the change of venue here matters. Saints obviously have a great home field advantage with the places rocking. And the Packers are dealing with a young-ish offensive line all of a sudden. One of the stalwart strengths of this team was their stability on the offensive line, keeping Aaron Rodgers in a clean pocket, allowing him to attack teams down the field with his one weapon and his other multitude of other things. And realistically, this game played in New Orleans was probably a chance to look for the Saints to cover or win. But in Jacksonville, it's an easy pass for me now. And the Saints defense has questions, and particularly in terms of how they're rostered. Some of the suspensions, some of the injuries are issues, in my opinion. And I think there's a case to be made for an over here, but I think 50 is awfully high to get too aggressive there. Jameis Winston is an over guy now, taking over as the Saints QB because he's going to throw you. He's aggressive.
Touchdowns, he's
going to throw touchdowns for both teams. Ultimately, if the Packers get a 3-point win, I'm not going to be shocked. If it's in the 4 to 7 range for the Packers, I'm not going to be shocked. And if the Saints pull off the upset, I'm not going to be shocked. So this was, I thought, a fair price, and I have kind of steered clear. I guess the one thing I want to mention about this, Hurricane Ida bailed out all of the bookmakers who were sloppy around the Aaron Rodgers situation because there were some bad bets written on behalf of Packers, as dogs in this game, and all of them get voided thanks to the relocation here. So get out of jail free for everyone who was sloppy over the summer. Count your blessings, I guess. And
my boy Matoy. I asked him about that. He's like, "Oh yeah, we had to avoid all those. Oh no, like all the bad Packers numbers.
Oh, bummer, all that action.
Bummer, all that." But and he said, like you reopen it, you don't take as much because it's a good number now. Case for the under, and I'm not betting it, but case for the under is when you think about these teams, people, and you did it yourself. You talked about Jameis, you talked about Rodgers, you talked about. I mean, we didn't even mention Devontae Adams. I think he should come up. We talked about the offensive lines. We didn't talk about 2 pretty effing sneaky good defenses. Like sneaky good defenses that people don't talk about because we're always talking about the, Rodgers, Devontae. We're talking about, the quarterback debacle of the last 2 years. God, they played 4 different quarterbacks, I think, in the last 2 years and didn't even get the long neck guy from the Verizon commercials in there. That was like 3-4 years ago. But, yeah, New Orleans is a good defense, and Green Bay has some good defensive pieces. This total's a little high for me. I'm probably not getting involved, and like you said, again, if Jameis is doing Jameis thing, that's probably why I'm staying away.
Can you imagine if this was a Taysom Hill game and you could bet under 50? That would be your biggest bet of the week, right?
Yeah, that's probably the only thing keeping me off this under is Jameis is highly volatile, and we don't need that. We don't need that with an under.
Volatility. Plenty of other places, plenty of other ways you can have fun on a Sunday besides betting into a Jameis Winston game.
Yeah, somebody poor Connor here had teaser legs.
Hate to hear that.
See if this makes sense. Rewind what you make Broncos Rams on a neutral because Rams -3.5 at Giants week, whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean the Rams are a play there at 3.5. I don't think it will be 3.5 once we get.
We're not even high on the Rams, and that's a play.
I'm not even. Yeah, right. My Rams Broncos number would on a neutral. I think is probably Rams 3. What about you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's going to be 6.5 when we get there, I guess.
Yeah, that's probably a good number. So, all right, let's close her out. We got a soccer match to watch. Bears Rams.
Bears Rams. This was. I'll start here. I've made some bad bets in my life as a football bettor. Somehow this qualifies.
Browns Raiders over, and then it. 8 points of negative CLV.
Dude, I usually have it on my calendar to start checking the wind on Sunday before betting totals. like come middle of October. That Browns Raiders one snuck up on me like a motherfucker. But that was the biggest minus CLV for me last year, maybe of my lifetime. This one is trending in that direction because the total, which I bet into, I think at 45-ish, I think I bet under 45, ticked down to 44. I'm patting myself on the back. I'm like, oh yeah, buddy, like here we go, another first winner of the season. No, that was a head fake apparently, and or some information changed, and this has now been bet up to 46.5. There are places like Pinnacle that had 47.5 when I woke up this morning, and I did a double take like that must be a different game. That can't be that game. It was that game. It's come back down to 46.5. So cooler heads are prevailing. The best I can tell you, this all trickles out from, I know, again, as I was scratching my head, I was asking everybody. Pizza had the answer this morning, and it was the rumors, the whispers of a second half performance by Justin Fields drove the boat here, is my guess. And is that correct? Yes.
If it is,
100% yes.
Yes, but I don't know. Maybe you could throw him in the Jameis boat too, or just a young quarterback getting thrown in like that is probably high volatility.
Of course, but the totals goes up immediately. Immediately.
I disagree with that a little.
Okay.
Like, I think he is a better quarterback eventually, but throwing him in cold at halftime, I feel like Nagy's going to reel in the play calling badly. And that's where I worry about this total getting out of hand up in the 40. I think 47 might be a bridge too far for me. And yeah, if they do short leash Dalton and they stick Fields in second half, I guess if you said, do you want the over or the under, I'd take the over because of the volatility and just like the Jameis thing that we just talked about. But at the same time, that play calling might get real ugly from Nagy.
The best case scenario for the under was 4 quarters of Andy Dalton behind this piece of shit offensive line. Okay, that was the best case scenario. The second best case scenario was 4 quarters of Justin Fields behind this piece of shit offensive line. Because either way, your defense is preparing for a specific style of play. The worst case scenario for this under is the switcheroo at halftime, because then, presumably the Rams already have a healthy lead, and all of a sudden now you throw chaos into the mix with a quarterback they haven't prepared for, who can scramble and evade pressure and take shots down the field, and those shots either turn into points going the other way or home runs. And I don't love it, honestly.
Or incompletions out of bounds on 6-yard outs. Like that's the only thing that scares me is like, I believe if they do that, Nagy's play calling sheet is very small compared to what he would be normally doing. It goes against the face of, we should put another quarterback in, see what we have, try to get back in this game. But everything Nagy does goes against the face of logic. So Reed agrees with that. So and from a fan's perspective, I'd love it if we saw Justin Fields in the second half. I want to watch that.
Oh yeah,
definitely want to see that.
Oh yeah, of course. And if you're a bookmaker and you've taken just liability out the wazoo on the Rams at this game and every which way, you want to see Fields at halftime too. Oh, yeah. You want the chaos. Introduce some chaos. It's going to be an interesting halftime play for us on Sunday, especially after 3 days in Vegas and all of the brain cells killed. But it will, I will remember this one. And ultimately, if the Bears season unwinds the way I think it will, just because of the questionable personnel decisions that Ryan Pace has made, every single time we get to a Bears handicap for the duration of this season, we will be extremely critical of this process, because it is a total clusterfuck what the vision is for this franchise and the way that they've constructed this roster outside of the one good decision of going to get Fields. So
good show.
Yeah, you too.
This felt good to do games again. Like the previous shows were fun, but
we did an hour and 20. We did a full slate. We skipped Monday, obviously.
We skipped Monday. We will talk about Monday on Sunday night. That's what we do. So if you missed the Monday night game, if you have questions, hit us on Twitter. We'll answer them, but we'll cover it a little more in depth on the Sunday night openers. While we wait for openers, we usually talk about the Monday night game while we're waiting for the screen to get populated with more lines for week 2 already. My God, we're already thinking about week 2.
Andy, I got 7. I already got lined up for week 2.
I looked at a few already. I just need some things to shake out right, and we're gonna have a bunch of bets. I love overreaction week. I'm pretty happy to have done this. We will be back tomorrow night for a halftime show of the Bucks Cowboys game. We will be back Friday with a secret bonus thing that I haven't even told you guys about yet.
Ooh.
We'll be back Sunday for 2 because we got the opener show and the halftime show. Brown bag bets tomorrow. We've got college show on Saturday. New name for that. I think we're doing a rename already. And, of course, WinBet senior trader Matoy Pearson Friday, live from Vegas as well, because he just lives here. That's how Vegas works.
I love it. Should I hit the music?
Yeah.
Do I put the banner down first? I can't even remember how to do
I
this.
will put the
Hey, we get to talk over the music again. Andy's muted because he forgot how this works. Drinking beers.
I mute myself. And we have the PrizePicks promo.
Oh, PrizePicks promo.
Tom Brady just needs to throw for 1 yard, and you get the free $50.
I like
this. On Twitter. It's on
his.
Twitter right
I
now.
like his chances.
I do like his chances. Can't handicap that.
Who's your first touchdown score, by the way? Did you already reveal that, or is that a brown bag bet special one?
I think we